And mind you, if you don't mind, let me just let people know a few things because, like, I know that you're a choreographer, a dancer, a creative director. This is you. I don't know why you're looking shocked. A model, which we all know. And some of your credits include John Legend, Beyonce, DaBaby, Kanye, BET Awards, and you recently had your national commercial with Wendy's. So, welcome to Fortune Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Elijah. Today we have an amazing guest who is a creative genius. Everybody, welcome Tai Ryan. Hey, Tai.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing
Wait,
good.
no,
Where
I
are
gotta say it
you?
again. I gotta say it again. I say it. I'm
Okay.
blessed
And highly favored,
and highly
period.
favored of the Lord. No. Uh,
Ooh, love the energy. So, where are you tuning in from?
I'm currently in, well, my living room slash dining room in North Hollywood, California.
We love that. We love that. And for the people that's listening, do you remember how do we know each other?
Okay, so I met you because I was hosting a prayer community night at my home, and through my friend Melissa, you came, your sister came, and she came, and it was actually really crazy because I'm really big on first impressions, though, like real talk, and we didn't really
Yeah.
discuss this, but it was actually one of the lowest points in my life at that moment.
Wow.
So low, very, very low, to where I was like, here I am. And here are these people. I'm like, how am I trying to like host this? I was all forms of like out of it, kind of
Hmm.
sort of, but then trying to like hang on to a thread. So
Hmm.
actually meeting you that first time was actually kind of crazy that we still, stay in touch and all that stuff. So yeah.
That's so crazy how like for me I was shook at the depth of character and you just had a brightness about you so I couldn't tell that you were going through like that. So that's surprising that that was one of your lowest and you were still doing stuff to give back. So shout out to you. I felt that.
Right? Right, for real.
Oh my goodness. Well, taking it back to the very, very beginning, what did you want to be growing up?
Growing up. Okay,
Yes.
so this changed a lot.
Okay.
But ultimately, I always wanted to sing and dance.
Okay.
I wanted to basically be um, what we know as Chris Brown Run It days. Run it.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
Yeah, that was me. I used to sing a lot. I used to dance around a lot. I used to act. Had a high imagination.
Mm.
Um, and my grandfather actually used to have people from like all over the world staying in our home for the summer as he taught English as a second language. And
Wow.
so I would put on shows for basically everyone there. I didn't really know that. I didn't remember that at all, but I found, a letter or proof of that
Oh
happening.
my
So yeah,
goodness. Wow. So it's been in you your whole entire life. And
basically.
speaking of that, like where were you born and where did you grow up?
Okay, I was born of Upper East Side Manhattan.
Okay.
We were living in Brooklyn at the time, but I was
Okay.
born at a hospital. It was called Beekman's Infirmary back then, right behind Pace
Hmm.
College.
Okay.
I moved from New York when I was very small. We hit up Memphis, Tennessee on our way down to Florida. We were going to stop in Georgia, but some craziness happened there, so we didn't
Mm.
stay. Ended up in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I was raised. Stayed in St.
Okay.
Petersburg for the most of my life.
And how was your upbringing like there? Did you have any siblings? Like how was that for you?
Okay, so my immediate family was with me. So my mom, my
Okay.
dad, uh my mom's mom, my grandmother,
Hmm.
and her husband, my grandfather.
Right.
And then my sisters and brother, I had at that time it was four of us. I had my older
Okay.
sister, I had an older brother who was special needs,
Hmm.
autistic, and I had then was me, and then it's my younger sister at that time when we
Okay.
first moved down here.
Okay. And like you enjoyed, I'm sure, having a full house.
It was very interesting when so when I was small. we all it was just really me and my family. Like we kind of just all stuck together. I would
Okay.
go play outside sometimes with my friends, but for the most part we were very close knit in the space that I was just inside with them. So although I was raised in St. Petersburg, I was around
Mhm.
a bunch of New Yorkers inside of our house all the time. So so there's part of me that I would say is like I had this beautiful like flourishing space with like loving and knowing people. I kind of learned that, I
Mhm.
picked up that just organically. And then I
Right.
was also very private. So there
Got
was like
it.
this weird, mesh of things
Balance.
going on.
I love that so much. And even then, what did your mom or your dad do for work? Because you're so creative. So I'm curious if they had that and passed that to you, or if it just like you're just one of a kind. What's going on there?
I mean, although I still think I'm one of a kind.
Yes, you
Uh,
are. Period.
my mom actually she went into nursing,
Okay.
but um from a child, she was a singer. My grandmother was
Okay.
a big gospel singer back in the 70s. She
Wow.
used to sing at this church called Institutional Church of God in Christ,
Mm-hmm.
170 Adelphi Street. Anyways, they had a radio broadcast, and my grandmother used to sing. My mom came on, and she was singing. She um, sang at the Apollo when she was 4, leading the children's choir.
Wow.
She was so then from there, she wrote plays, things like that. My dad was a
Wow.
singer as well. For I think the group they were called the Gospel Expositions or something like that.
Got
Yeah,
it.
something like that. Anyway, so they're singers, creatives. My mom made this play called You Gotta Believe It, and it was like around the Bobby Jones era and all of them. So
Mm-hmm.
he sang. They all sang with his choir. They all kind of knew the things. That's like real like early '90s vibes with the
Right.
gospel music, expose. Um, and then, so yeah, moving to Florida, I was just around them. So we had that creative aspect going on, but
Mm-hmm.
my mom was nursing and my dad, he worked in retail. The only thing is my dad, he designed clothes. So
Right.
I kind of saw this like for lack of a better word, right? Bruce
Mm-hmm.
Wayne, Batman vibe going on with my
Mm-hmm.
family, with my mom and my dad. So it's like
Yeah.
they did what they had to do, like during the day. And my mom was super
Right.
smart, especially when it came to medical things.
Mm-hmm.
And then my dad, he knew style and fashion, all that stuff. But he also, worked his
Wow.
job. So um, it was definitely difficult. My grandmother also was in
Mm-hmm.
nursing, and then my
Mm-hmm.
grandfather, he taught English as a second language at Eckerd
Mm-hmm.
College. He then later moved to Japan, um, but yeah, a lot of them I just kind of saw this like balance of the real world and then also this artsy world.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so I kind of think I picked up from that, and so, but I don't think it registered to me fully like what that meant, and I think I kind of misconstrued that
Right.
for myself as a child, where
Mm.
I didn't really do all the time the artsy stuff that I like to do. I kind of kept it
Mm.
in. Um,
Okay.
but they definitely were very much so artists in their own right.
Right. And I wonder why did you keep it in at that time? Was it that like was Florida a conducive place for like that like artistic side to come out? Because Brooklyn to Florida, that's a different vibe. Totally. So I'm curious as to why you might have kept that in.
Um, let's just put it this way. Um, the South Side of St. Pete wasn't the place where you felt like you had the freedom to be an artsy fartsy person.
Got it.
Especially in that time, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
talking 90s, like there was a lot of racism.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of bigotry, whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a lot of that
Mm-hmm.
was very prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
And it was thriving. Um,
Mm.
there wasn't many arts based things to do.
Got it.
And
Even in
anything you
school.
no. We
Okay.
did have a music class. I did have an art class. Um, but it wasn't like a conservatory. It wasn't like an art school. Whereas when I grew
Mm.
up, there were art schools that I was able to see where you were able to come in with a purpose and people took it seriously. Everything
Right.
was very much so just something that you wanted to do.
Mm.
So when I was in music class in elementary school, this is where I think the whole bug for me singing really became something. my
Mhm.
music teacher actually pulled me aside and would pull me out of class and would give me music class and then teach
Ah,
me to sing. Like, and so I ended up
wow.
singing over the announcements. I ended up doing a lot of things for like Black History and doing a lot of things. Walsingham Elementary in Largo is where I went. But that was like my only place that I had a
Mm.
space to kind of do anything. Her name was Miss Hagedorn. Actually, I still remember her. Um,
Of course.
but I didn't sing that much at home. I remember one time I was
Mm.
singing a Celine Dion song, all
Mhm.
by myself, and it got to that long belting part, and I was singing it,
Yes.
and my big sister walked in the room and looked like this, and I screamed and I stopped. Um, but there was always a shyness there when it came to it, and a
Mm.
hiding there. And then when I finally started doing it in elementary school, someone told me that I was singing too high, my voice is too high, and
Mm.
a lot of things like that. So I feel like at that moment I saw for real like everything coming at you. You got
Right.
accused of doing all this different stuff. You were soft, you were a punk, you were this, you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
all these different things were
Yeah.
going on. So um longer story, that's basically it. But longer story short, it was not a conducive space for me as an artist.
Right.
I wanted to be a football player, basketball player,
Mhm. Mhm.
definitely.
Mhm.
But as an artist,
It
nah,
wasn't
not so
there.
much.
And even culturally at large, we've seen thankfully that change where it's like arts is more accepted. Before, as a young child, people might not like really support that. So I'm happy that, at least your parents were in that. And at least you had at least one teacher that saw that gift in you and try to bring it out. Unfortunately, bullies, like everybody goes through, try to
Yeah,
shut that down.
yeah,
But
yeah.
so moving past like high school, did you attend any college or any school after that?
I went to a community college. Well, it started off as a
Okay.
community college, and it was actually
Mhm.
transitioning into a 4 year.
Okay.
St. Petersburg College is where I attended. I got
Mhm.
my AA from there, but I
Okay.
went really slow with
Okay.
it, and went
Mhm.
into even online classes to the point where, well, initially when I first got out of high school, I went through this thing where I wasn't able to like. I had a lazy, basically they diagnosed me with a lazy heart and that and like some
Ah,
lung situation that was going on. So I
really?
wasn't able to finish high school like everyone else. I had to go through the hospital homebound program because I couldn't walk up the
Mhm.
stairs without like passing out and stuff like that.
Wow.
So yeah, through prayer. I was praying one time in church. I actually received prayer. A miracle happened for me, and I was able to, breathe again, basically.
Wow.
So, big ups to Jesus.
No, literally. Because you need your lungs. Talk less of like what you do today, but yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. So it was a space where at first I didn't go straight to school. I went to work kind of sort of straight out.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
started working at like Walgreens pharmacy and things like that.
Mhm.
I worked my way up the ranks and then ended up being like a senior pharmacy technician. And it wasn't there that I decided, oh, I want to be a pharmacist. I like pharmacy. I like the chemicals and the makeups and all that stuff. And so from there, it was like, okay, I need to, get into school and things. So then I kind of went and started doing my school journey. Went rather slow with that to the point where by the time I ended up moving from Florida, I finished my AA actually out here online. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So when did you move to? It was like while you were doing your schooling. That's when you moved to Los Angeles.
hmm Yeah.
And what caused you to move to LA?
Because, okay, so basically, um, I can say this is my Cuban mom.
Okay.
Cuban mom, Caddy Dad Meyer. I finally started dancing again. God asked me to dance, and I said no. And then there was a dance team that started off at the church, and then the leads of the dance team ended up not being part of the church anymore. So there's
Mm,
kids that were wanted to dance and didn't. So I took over
right.
for a second, and then that second turned into the duration of it. And so my stepdad is very old school. My,
Mhm.
my mom's husband right now, but he raised me pretty much. I don't like calling my stepdad, but
Right.
just for the context of me having my dad, who is the
Sure.
person that slows, and him, who is like my spiritual father, basically.
Mhm.
Um, he was in his very gruff voice said he wants to see these kids in uniform. I was like, all right.
Okay.
So I went to the dance store that was literally there was a dance store that was right actually a block away from the church.
Mhm.
And my dance mom that was there, she said, I'm gonna kick your ASS if you don't get into class. And
Got
so
it.
I started dancing. And the people that ended up dancing around were people from the Pinellas County Center of the Arts at Gibbs High School.
Mhm.
And like my teacher, Miss Suzanne Pomerantsev, she has a studio, an academy, excuse me, called the Academy
Mhm.
of Ballet Arts, which I later
Ooh.
became on the board of directors for while I was out there. Um, and she basically taught me dance and all that. And so
Okay.
that kind of started my journey into like where I went to. And then finally from there, I was like, okay, I'm going to start school. So there's a big gap
Yeah.
from 2004 till about 2011. I was
Got
just
it.
dancing and I was
Mhm.
working. And so then
Wow.
once I was like, okay, if I'm going to be working like this, I need to like make pharmacy my career. I'm going to go to school.
Right.
That's when the 2011 came. And so from
Okay.
2011, I was very slow, a couple of classes every semester.
Mhm.
Ended up getting my AA around 2016 here
Okay.
in
Okay.
California.
Wow. So it's funny how everything just tied together, moved you out, just the training. And I love that most of your dance training came after your kind of like your formative years. Because with your talent, I was thinking that you were gonna say, oh yeah, I was in training since I was 3 years old. So the fact that that is you, oh
Started
my goodness.
started when I was 22. That's my first class.
At 22. And mind you, if you don't mind, let me just let people know a few things because, like, I know that you're a choreographer, a dancer, a creative director. This is you. I don't know why you're looking shocked. A model, which we all know, and some of your credits include. I know that you've had projects with John Legend, Beyonce, DaBaby, Kanye, BET Awards, and you recently had your national commercial with Wendy's. So I just think you've accomplished so much, but I wonder if you could walk me through how that progress was from 2016 up until where you are today, because I'm sure like there had to be a lot of emotions there. I know you were dancing or you were just learning to dance, and now to like move out to LA. Like, did you also have the dream of, hey, I want to make it in the entertainment industry, or was it like, oh, I just want to change of environment, do my pharmacy? Like, what like was the motive behind that, and how did your progress go from there?
So I basically I produced a show called Shadows of the Mind. It's basically a dance theater version of my life, and it takes you down my testimony and like me serving God, the things that I went through. And the reason why I moved out here initially was because my grandfather, Philip Zidowitz, he was currently in Japan during that time, was helping me to bring the show to an international platform. He was coaching me through the process of getting it done, creating a digital fingerprint for the show in regards to news and media, trying to get reporters, trying to get stories printed up on it, stories on myself, newspaper articles, all the things. So I ended up moving out here initially in the earthly context because I wanted to um, um, become more acclimated with industry. There
Mm,
was just no way for me to go into the spaces that I wanted to go in and have the knowledge that I had because St. Pete did
true.
not give me a platform to learn the ins and outs of a beast such as
Right.
industry. So
Mm.
I had the opportunity to try for New York. The thing is, when I went to New York, I didn't feel it to move there.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
on a practical level, there it's like you're thinking that your show's a dance theater show. It should have thrived in New York. It went on Broadway, all the things. I was
Right.
like, but I just saw so many people going for the same door that
Mm.
it just felt
I did it.
inauthentic for me to try to
Right,
go through
right.
that door. So I was like, all right, cool. And I was talking to a good friend of mine, and we were basically like exploring the same space. And I was like, you know what? I want to check out the West Coast before I decide. And
Right.
so we came out here to audition for a talent agency, Clear Talent.
Okay.
She got in, I did not.
Okay. Okay.
But I still felt it that this was the place I was supposed to be.
Mhm.
So that's what prompted me to actually choose LA to move here. Um,
Mhm.
the journey getting here from 2016 to now, I would
Mhm.
say the beginning was pure hell.
Okay.
Um,
Expand, please. We're trying to find out.
it was pure hell. I
Oh
will say,
no.
um, I don't want, I mean, I'm trying not to, anyway, I'm going to say what I was going to say. So,
Okay,
I
okay.
received vision and I received the
Mhm.
word that I was going to be leaving my family. And that vision came to me when I was
Mhm.
18 years old. And I was
Mhm.
like, okay, I didn't know what that meant. But when it came
Right.
down time to moving, I realized that God was moving me to LA for the sake of being a light in the industry.
Mhm.
I was like, all right, because I don't know what this is. I have no clue what
Right.
that is. I just know that I love people and I love art and I love to do it.
Right.
And
Right.
I've been doing so much stuff. I've done pretty much all there is to do in St. Petersburg, Florida, to the point where I've even, taught in the school system, and that's like Fort Knox to get into.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was an adjunct dance teacher at the middle school that I would have gone to if I pursued arts when I was
Mm.
younger. So it was a lot of
Right.
full circle moments. Like I wasn't in the arts high school, I wasn't in the arts middle school, I wasn't in the arts elementary, but I was able to have my hands in all of them, even though I didn't go there. So I felt like even though I didn't have that experience, 'cause I started when I was 22, I
Mhm.
still had like my hand in where I still would have been there some way, you know?
Right. Connected.
Yeah. So basically the Hades started 2 weeks after I got out here. I mean, honestly, I should have known it was going to be crazy because I went with my friend to Hollywood and Highland, and there's street performers out there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm going out there. I'm like, yeah, I've seen those street performers there dancing. I'm like, yes. And I'm just clapping my hands and all that stuff. And then old dude starts battling me, and I'm like, wait, I'm here to support you. What is happening? That should have been my clue right there. You
Oh my
know,
gosh.
you're in for something there, buddy. But
Wow.
no, but no. I've
Wow.
gone to auditions where the auditioner, oh, that were being filmed. Um,
Mhm.
the auditioner stopped the audition right in the middle of it and said, "Hey, yo, we already know who we're booking. We already got the show. We've kind of already started recording. We kind of need this footage now." Um, and I was like, basically, we weren't dancing good enough. We were kind of like still learning we were going through the
Okay.
proper process of learning
Okay.
choreography.
Right.
Which at sometimes it is doing it full out when you're doing it slow to get it in your muscle memory.
Of course.
But there's a lot of thinking that you're doing, maybe, like, okay, I got it. Like, you're kind of
Right.
like going through your individual process as well as collectively. Because you want to showcase
Correct.
the choreographer that you got it, but you also want to showcase that you are responsible as an artist. And when you're in the room, you're
Yes.
focused and you're picking up details and all the things.
Correct.
So we're going through all of those things, and they just wanted performance.
Mm.
And I was like, well, yes. And then he was like, okay, yo, this is what this is, da da da. And I was like, what? So I have people
Wow.
there who have agents calling their agent, trying to figure out what was going on with that. I don't have an
Right.
agent at this point because I went to Clear Talent Agency for an audition, didn't get it, whatever. So I'm like, all
Right.
right, there's a lot here I don't know. So let me start
Mhm.
investigating. Um, a friend of mine who I was living with was like, "Hey, yo, we got this music video. I'm not gonna say the company because the
Of
company is
course.
extremely well known.
Yeah.
But we have this music video this company is doing, and this company doesn't normally have auditions, but they normally just hire in house. So if you do this, it helps you. It's no pay, but it will help you get involved with getting this company in. I've been here all of 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I don't know anything about this industry or what's going on. I'm trying to make it, trying to figure it out. I'm like, yes, why not? We could leave in the morning. It'll just be for a couple of hours. Okay, cool. I get to a space. We get linked up 10 o'clock in the morning. We drive out to
Mhm.
the desert because we were told that they don't have a budget for, for
For anything.
so
Yeah.
we're gonna be
Okay.
extras and all the things. Okay, cool. I don't know anything about anything, right? I have no clue. As far as I'm
Right.
concerned, especially even when I first started, when I was younger, I thought that all these stars, the Michael Jackson, all things, they just had friends, and all your friends got together and you did them, and they danced with you because all the music videos were like in a warehouse or on the side
Right.
of the
And they're
road.
just chilling.
Alley. So I'm
Mhm.
thinking, okay, these are just people friends. They just get together and they do stuff. It would be cool to have a friend like Michael Jackson. It'd be great to be
Uh-huh.
friends with TLC. Look at
Of
Janet Jackson
course.
with all those people. They're just sitting around playing pool. Oh yeah, great. MC
Yeah.
Hammer, they're at an abandoned warehouse. They must have hopped the fence and danced over there. So I have no clue. For real, as I'm younger. So I'm growing up and I'm understanding the behind the curtain vibes of all this stuff.
Right.
Longer story short, we get to the desert because they drive us out to the middle of the desert. It's hot.
Mhm.
Um, we're supposed to ride bikes and then jump off the bike. That's all we're supposed to
Mhm.
do.
Got it.
They have this giant cook person that's out there. I'm like, okay, yeah. They have a table with a bunch of snacks on it. I'm like, okay, cool. Um, they've got this big, huge crane looking thing that's like holding
Mhm.
a car upside down. I'm like,
Mhm.
all right, cool. They have these big lights that's happening. I'm like, all right, cool.
Mhm.
We start. We're driving the bike down this hill, which is hard as heck because it's like it's dried sand, but it's still kind of
Right.
weird. I'm like, all
Right.
right, cool. Then they want us to stand in front of these cannons, and the cannons explode, and we jump back and fall to the ground. I'm landing in this like cacti looking plant thing. It's like a regular
Oh
plant
my
that's so dry
goodness.
that its leaves are now like stabbing you.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm doing all this and there's no money involved. Like, what's happening? So
Right.
I talked
Right.
to, the person that brings me on. I'm like, hey, yo, I'm way too, first off, this is very hard for me to say things without saying names and all that stuff because I'm
Yeah.
like, and this, da, da, da. So, yeah. So we're talking to them. So we go over to, get food
Mhm.
from the chef guy that's there. And we're kindly directed to the snack table. I'm like,
You couldn't
oh,
even
so
get lunch?
we didn't get food.
Wow.
They ate meals. We ate chips and a soda and like water and stuff like that.
And no
So
payment. I'm
no
surprised if
payment.
they even credited you at the end at that point.
I mean, I don't see it on the video, but whatever. So,
Mm.
and the video's still up too. I just yeah. So, anyways, I'm like, all right, cool. So we're only gonna be here for a little bit of time. We're gonna leaving soon. Mind you, we got there. I left. We left at 10 o'clock in the morning. Kind of got there like around 11:30, 12, whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
It is now 9 p.m. We're still there.
Right.
No, we didn't get any food. As a matter of fact, when we started going to the snack table that was next to the chef, we were then instructed extras. Please only eat from this table, the crafty table or whatever. So it was very direct about
Wow.
that.
And this is from a major company.
If I
Yeah.
said anything else, it would be yeah, you would know. So,
Yeah.
longer story short. Now, this is just I'm saying this because this is the overall encompassing
Right.
aspect of everything that has taken place
Of
in
course.
this a certain through a certain duration of my journey. Um,
Right.
from there, it's now 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. We've wrapped. I'm in the desert from leaving my house at 9, getting picked up
Mhm.
at 9:30ish, getting to the desert whenever we got to there, all the way until 4 o'clock in the morning. No pay, no actual meal, and just the artist person saying thank you. You know,
Mhm.
um, my feet are freezing at night. It's very much so cold at this point. Like it's
Right. Of
freezing.
course.
Like I'm like it's
Right.
in New
And
York in the
desert,
winter.
yeah,
I'm
of
like, what
course.
is
And
happening? I'm
yeah.
shivering. We don't have like jackets and so I didn't know to bring no oversized jacket and
Right. You thought you
seven
were going to
pairs
be
of
there
socks.
for a few hours.
So, um, yeah. Longer story shorter, that feeling that you get has been was
Mhm.
my journey for the first 3 or 4 years
Wow.
of being out here. It was even in the space where I stopped to necessarily I chose what I don't even say free work. I chose what work I donated my time to based off of what the work was about, nonprofit type things, church space things that had a message, me helping out a friend, an actual friend who really cared and valued me, all those things. But yeah, it's mad expensive out here.
It is.
And I think that my first, what, 5 years, 4 or 5 years, I was
Mhm.
couch living on couches. Um, years,
Really?
years.
Wow.
And to the point where I stayed with a friend of mine, and I pretty much stayed there for a very long time. And then ended up befriending the other roommates that were there. Um, and it was a very crazy journey. And it was funny because I prayed a lot, and every time I was like, I'm going home.
Yeah.
F this with a capital F. And then I was like, something was like, oh no, you have to stay. And I'm like,
Mm.
no, if you want me to stay, I'm about to be homeless. So if you want me to stay, then you're gonna have to prepare a way for me to have some place to stay. And then someone
Okay.
looks to me and says, actually, my roommate's on tour right now, so their room is gonna be free for I'm like, I gotta open my mouth. But and then during that time, there's one of these jobs that I'm booked that you see on this resume happened
Right.
during those times. Like it wasn't
Wow.
me like being like, oh yeah, da 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 dee, dee. No, it was. craziness and those things happen. And I mean, there are other things
Mhm.
that I work smaller. I want to say smaller jobs in a space that um they're not A-list artists or things like that. But, I found myself being respected more by the people who had the lower budgets. I
It's
didn't
so
have to wait
true.
weeks and weeks and weeks to get a paycheck, or
Mhm.
have to contact them or wait, 60 days after I've done the work. I didn't mail you my
Right.
work. As one of my friends would say, I didn't mail you my work, so why are you mailing me a check? You can cut this
Right.
check right now.
Right.
But it's one of the things where you realize that as the talent, or I did realize that there was a lack of honor and respect for what I do and acknowledgement
Mhm.
for what I do, and not just for me, but everyone. And then it came
Right.
to a place where, as much as I was receiving, for the lack of a better word, praise for what I do, I was still treated as if I was just a number. And so I then began to feel like maybe I am just a number. And that's when I feel like I had to go through simultaneously the craziness of this industry and then the craziness of finding my identity, which happened
Right.
all at once while I was out here doing what I do. And I noticed that there are so many of us who are creatives, young creatives, etc., who are going through what I know is an issue concerning their identity, who they are as a person. Um,
Right.
some people that dance or that perform, they live for the performance because they don't feel alive unless they're on stage.
Right. That's
Where,
their calling.
yeah, but there's also a space for me, which is something that I feel like there's a difference between doing your calling because it's something that is organically you, and then
Mhm.
idolizing what you think your calling is, and
Mm.
bypassing your humanity to get there.
Wow.
And so that's where a lot of the people that I've come across were. And I saw the separation. And so from that space, I had to pull myself back from the space in the industry. And so I still worked and I'm still going to work, at the end of
Yeah.
the day. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that because from an arrogant or cocky space, like God called me to this space. So there's going to be a job or something that's going to pop up. It is
Right.
what it is. But I cared more about people. And I think
Mm.
one of the reasons why God utilizes these relationships that I've acquired, not in the space of, oh, he's a friend, let me hire him, but sometimes I've actually was the one that referred a lot of people to a lot of positions and jobs where
Right.
they were contacted directly. It's because someone hit me up and was like, do you
Wow.
know a few people? And I only want to work with people that you know, because when you invite people in, they're actually are good people. And so I've done concept videos, conceptualize things like that, and I use that as a time and an opportunity to see people's emotions, how they are on set, how they handle things, what they bring to the room during a
Right.
rehearsal. And when someone asks me, like, "Oh, do you know of anybody?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've worked with this person, so I know." And it's the same way I do with the dancers too. Like, I don't refer them to anything that I don't know. The production people are cool. Like, if I feel a shake, I'm not referring anyone. Um so that's been my journey, really honestly, has been the hard knocks of so many different crazy things that have happened throughout many, many different rooms I've been in that have been so discouraging to the point where it made me at some point in time feel worthless. And then at some point in time when I stopped feeling worthless, my my calling didn't feel worth it enough to endure all the craziness to be a part of that. And I realized that that was the biggest trick of the enemy. And I realized that that was a time for me to really check my why. And like, do you need all these credits to, validate you as a creative, or validate you as a human being, or validate your skill? Or are you really, really called to this? And if you are called to this, whether you get a pat on the back or not, you're going to do what it is that is in you to do because it's in you. And so that was my whole, basically, the hell.
Journey.
And then now it's just little bursts of hellfire and brimstone, but it's not the whole thing.
Right. And I love that it's gotten better for you. But I think this is very important what you're saying, because so many people from the outside could glamorize like the highlights, right? Like, oh, Tay just booked a national commercial. So cool. Tay like was just working with John Legend. Oh my God, love the project. But then they don't know. And I think, LA, much like how your experience was, there's so many people who are creative and talented, and they move from their hometown to Los Angeles, and then they're shocked because they're like, what? And Los Angeles really has a way of weeding out people who are truly not meant to be there, talk less of the industry. And it's surprising to hear that even with like with all the amazing credits that you were starting to get, that you were still sleeping on couches. I think sometimes we think like, oh my God, large following. Oh my God, working with such amazing people, such amazing clients. And to find out now, like now everybody's just trying to figure out with everything that's going on and the exposition in the industry. But it's like all these people who are making such incredible talents are not getting paid. My background was in film, right? So I kind of experienced part of that where I'm just like, why am I working 16 to 18 hours a day to not even get paid, to not even pay my rent? Like I had to like quickly check like, okay, is this the only avenue? Is it worth it? And similarly, I noticed that the smaller productions, oh, the respect, made sure like that you ate. They were so mindful and thoughtful. But the larger companies, that's where I was surprised that the most egregious things would happen. And even in other industries too. I've worked for large agencies, startups, all of that. And it's crazy. And I'm like, is that like just how you guys fix your bottom line by like not caring? But at the same time, I feel like there should be a respect in the process and what people are giving, because most of the creatives that I know, even like knowing you, for the time that I've known you, you put your heart into everything that you do. It's not like you're just halving it. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that that's not honored, so I applaud your endurance and your motivation to keep going, because I was going to ask you like, how do you keep going? But it seems like every time you wanted to give up, there was just something that you're like, I guess I'll stay.
I want to say I can be as transparent as I possibly can. Like a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people say, "Oh no, it's all because of God." It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Like mine's really is because of God
Right.
on so many
Right.
areas. Not just because God like made ways and like things just happen,
Mm-hmm.
but because I didn't want to. I be like, "Oh my gosh, don't throw in the towel. Here's a towel." I threw it. I threw it so many times. The towel is like at this point is feeling abused. Like
Right.
it's thrown and God kept giving it back to me. And
Mm.
so in all honesty, like that fuel and that motivation for me has been my faith. It's been
Mm.
my faith and um not only in God, but like my faith in what God has called me to, and then my faith in how much God loves creativity
Yeah.
and how much God loves to touch people through it, and how much God
Mm-hmm.
loves when people feel touched, like when people
Right.
feel uplifted. Like I know, like a lot of times, and I've been saying this a lot lately, but
Yeah.
like a lot of times, people we like to say, "Oh, I'm only human" when we make a mistake, right? But when we think about the complexity of being a human being and everything that goes into our makeup, from the genetics to the DNA to the blood flow to what we do, how we're recreated, procreation, all the things, like how
Right.
God loves us so much that we all have our own set of fingerprints and nobody's
Right.
heart is the same size. Like
Mm.
it's those things that lets you know that being human is actually an amazing thing. And
Yeah.
I think that as being a creative, that's one of the main sources that we're able to actually touch humanity. Um, through our hearts and through the opening up of our imaginations and all the things. And I feel like that's been the motivation for me, is knowing that God loves that enough that God would choose me and honor so much to choose me to place some ideas in and or to be able to like help someone else to get to where they need to get to. Because ultimately every time I go on set and I look at the set, I don't care about a big eye little you. I'm not really concerned about like, oh, put me somewhere. I'm literally looking at this as like, I want this vision to come to life.
Right.
What can I do to bring this vision to life? And that is something that I feel that mindset in itself drives me even the more so. And then to the point where I'm like, yeah, I do want to do it more. I want to do it more, not because I have this thirst to do it or I'm a professional, I should be doing it. It's because this is a part of what I'm called to do. So I want to do that. But I thank God that He uh rearranged my
Mm.
my hierarchy space, because
Right.
I honored the industry for a little bit of time more than I honored myself. And even if I
Right.
talked about loving your neighbor, and people want to say love your neighbor, but yeah, you have to love God first in order to know how to love yourself, and then you
It's
have to love
true.
yourself enough to know how to love your neighbor. And then when
Wow.
you have that example of how you love your neighbor, then you can start showing some love to your enemies. And if you can
Mm.
get over that, then you can forgive the fact of all the craziness and the things you've had to go through in your journey. And that's something that
Wow.
I like. Love God, love yourself, love your neighbor, love your enemy,
Hmm.
love your journey. Those are,
Wow.
it's very hard to do, and it's very hard to
Mhm.
revisit those spaces. But being determined to do that, that determination is definitely a fire inspired from God to do that, and it's kept me going. So here I am.
It's so true, and I think that's one thing that surprised me even, when I moved, to I always stayed on the west side of LA, but, like, always kind of attended, like, church in Hollywood and all that stuff, and, you have people from all around the world, and they're thinking like, "Oh my gosh, like, the industry, everything is so dark, dark, dark," but I was surprised to see that a lot of the people who make up the industry, be it, like, actors, singers, the creatives, the people who are really the backbone for these, a lot of them have such a like, strong grounding in God and like a strong grounding in their spirit, like to keep really going and just to keep being a light. So I'm happy that you've rearranged like that hierarchy, and have kind of just been led by purpose and been that light in so many rooms, because I'm sure there's places or times that people just want to give up, but they know, oh, Tay's going to be there. So, you know and did you feel that reciprocation? Because I feel like you were so intentional to reach out for other people and connect them. Did people do that for you, or how did you feel on that front? Because sometimes what you give to others, they don't always give back to you, and it can be frustrating. So I'm just curious, because like, you could be so selfless and then find out that the people you're helping could be selfish. Did you ever experience that at all?
Um,
Okay, the laugh. The laugh.
I will say there have been plenty of rooms. Well, I'll answer both.
Sure.
There have been plenty of rooms where I've gone into and I felt 1,000,000% validation and reciprocation. I will
Hmm.
say, when I got booked for the John Legend situation, the biggest form of love that I felt I got was from the director. When I
Mm.
walked in, he told me that he knew it was me when I walked in the room.
Wow.
I've never heard that before
Right.
in LA on that level and that magnitude. And
Right.
to be validated in that space let me know that somebody somewhere, if it's not just him, like there's
Mhm.
people out there that feel that about me or about what I
Mhm.
have to offer. So
Mhm.
I thank God for making me the way he made me and then moving in that. So I've been validated in that space. And then in that music video, there were so many of people that I'd be hitting the grounds with. We be meeting each other at the printing station to get our headshots, and I'm there on
Wow.
all of them. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them. And
Right.
it's they're lifting me up in the air. I have this thing with heights, and so I'm being lifted up,
Aw.
and I have to depend and trust on them to not drop me. And I'm like
Yeah.
feeling myself being supported by a group of people. Um,
Wow.
and that's crazy. When I was on the Black is King set, I really honestly have not seen so many African American or an African or Black diaspora
Right.
um, humans in
Mhm.
the same space, and there's such harmony, and there was no ego. It wasn't any of that. Most of us really didn't even know what we were doing because we were there on an NDA, so we
Right.
don't know anything anyway. But it was just really, really dope to just encounter so many people. I met so many people who I'm friends with today still. So
Right.
that's great. On the flip side,
Mm.
I'm I know I know through testimonial
Mhm.
that there have been times where my name has been mentioned in rooms,
Mhm.
and people that I know would not vouch for me or say the exact opposite. Uh,
Mm.
Not in a negative way against me, but just to kind of like hurry past me.
Right. Right.
Um, it's easy to say in that space, oh, they're just jealous, da 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 da.
Mhm.
But I'll say this from two angles. One
Okay.
angle is that this industry is really hard. Um, but what I hate what the industry does is it scares us into feeling that there's not enough space for everyone. And that is a very believable lie. It is so everything around us says that there's only this amount of space. They're only hiring 8 dancers. They're only hiring this many dancers. They're only hiring one dancer. They're only hiring two. They have audition. They really don't book anyone out of that audition. They only carry they're only looking for three people. Like a lot of times that does happen. And so we have a tendency to not trust in the beauty in our own gift.
Mm,
And that I also believe that our gifts are alive within us because God's love is alive within us. And
mhm.
so our gifts will find the space that it needs to get into. You know what I mean? But
Right.
if we're in a scarcity mindset, we do that with finances,
Mhm.
that with our time, we do that
Right.
with this. If there's a scarcity mindset, there can be a space where we feel like if I let this person in the room, that they're going to outshine me, or that
Mm,
they have such this beautiful light and it's a powerful light. They're so powerful. I don't want them to. I don't want the director to see them.
right.
I think that it's very sad in this space that some of the strongest people who have the brightest light actually are some of the people who actually genuinely care about you. And
Right.
they if they had the opportunity to take your job, they wouldn't. Because they
Exactly.
honor their friendship with you or their relationship with you or what you've contributed to
Right.
the
Their
community.
life. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I've experienced as well. So I'm like, would you not call that jealousy? Because for me, it's very baffling. I've always been one to always kind of uplift others, put them on. I don't really have like I think it just runs in my family. We don't have like the DNA of competition or jealousy. I truly believe what's meant for me will come to me. Therefore, I'm always happy to speak well of others. I'm always happy to be like, oh, I know this friend, they would be great for this project, even if I know I want to be there for the same thing, because I just trust that like what's meant to be for me will be for me. But then to know that you could be so selfless and then see others not really reciprocate the same way, though you can understand that it's a scarcity mindset, is that one, is it not jealousy? Or two, is it not like painful? Because your perspective is so holistic and so wonderful. I'm still working on getting there and not having that pain when you know that you would give up anything for the community just because we're people, people.
Yeah.
We love people and we want to see our friends and our community shine. But to see that not being reciprocated sometimes, it could be painful. So, like, at what point, how did you handle that? And what point did you come to this now mature realization? And luckily, it hasn't stopped any good thing from coming to you because your credits still run long. So, luckily, their mission to not mention your name or to glaze past you, it didn't work regardless. But yeah, I'll let you chime in on there because I want to know.
Well, I will say, can I be honest? It hurt like hell. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in a space where, to me, honestly, I was like, yo, I love my gift, yeah, but it's expensive living out here. I,
Yeah.
if I were to book this job, that would have at least helped me with my rent for,
Mm-hmm.
for this, whatever, or I would have enough for this. You know what I mean? I'm not
Right.
shine, please. But
Yeah.
um I think what hurts about it too is also what it was for me spiritually. I had to
Mm.
God and be like, so God, if you called me here, how is it that this person can keep me out of the room that I feel like I'm supposed to be in if you make me be here?
Right.
And I think that what we I think that is why I have this mature mindset about it now is because I had that
Mm.
conversation with the highest of powers in my
Right.
the highest of powers God in my view. And I said, what is this? And I was very honest. I think
Mm-hmm.
that there's a way to hold people accountable and be honest. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't have to come from a malicious place. Uh,
Mm.
but it also, there's a way to hold people accountable and be honest. And also not allow you to allow every single aspect of the thing that has hurt you because some of the hurt also is a reminder of things in the
Of
past
trauma.
to
Mm-hmm.
like pour out onto that person and this individual.
Mm.
And it took for me a lot of burning. Like
Mm.
and I even imagine like sometimes when people are doing that, they feel this burning situation, like this sensation of like,
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
so for me, I felt that in the space of forgiving these people. And the reason why I don't have to necessarily have a conversation with them yet is because for me to approach them, I feel like takes away from their part of that journey because they need to
Mm.
acknowledge within themselves what is going on within them. And
Mm.
if I come to them prematurely, it won't be a space of like, I love you enough to know you. And I know that you're not. What's going to happen is you're going to defend yourself in the way you think you need to defend yourself, and it's not.
Right.
So I'm like, let's just
Mhm.
let God deal with you the way God's going to deal with you, and then when you come to me, I'm well open and ready to have a conversation and say, it's okay. It's not
Right.
okay, but I'm okay, and God is blessing us both, and all of that good stuff. Um, I think that one of the reasons why I'm able to move past this hurt is because
Mhm.
God has taught me how to forgive for real. A
Got
lot
it.
of say that even some people today, there's a rule of thumb that says I won't forgive anyone. Some people
Mhm.
feel that they don't know if they can be who they are without the fire of this pain fueling their heart. Um, but I happen to feel that being stuck in something and having this view is a lesser perspective than being out of it and having an overview and seeing that. I think that if I take the perspective of LA from being on, the street and driving down the streets, I see this stuff. It's big in my face. But if I go on the rooftop somewhere of one of these big buildings, look out, all these things are small. Um, and I also get to see for real, like where everything is for real. So I do have a perspective that's going to allow me to look at bigger pictures because I want bigger things. I
Right.
touch more people. I want to be touched in more ways. I want to give something that is worthy of being reciprocated, even if I'm not being reciprocated from at that moment, because
Right.
I can't dictate how you handle you, but I am going to make sure that I'm I. And when I lay down at night,
You can
I can
sleep.
sleep.
And another thing that you can do when you walk into those rooms is have your head high, knowing that you never did anybody wrong. Because sometimes people can lie on you. Sometimes people can because I've experienced where people I don't know what they're saying, but then you feel like, why did this person switch up? Like, what's going on? But you just have to know that I can walk into any room boldly, knowing that I didn't maliciously speak against anybody. I didn't stop anybody's opportunity. You didn't do anything wrong. And another thing, I will touch on that because, I love this conversation because it's not just about careers, it's about who you are as a person, your soul, because that affects every area of your life. Everything affects everything. And how you do one thing is how you do everything. But one word that I kind of came across was you reap what you sow, not where you sow. So when I finally heard that, that gave me a lot of freedom. Like just because you planted in this person or you sowed life into this person or you gave your all to this person, that person doesn't also have to be the everything that does it back to me. Eventually, what I've put out there is going to come back to me in one shape or form. And I wish I knew this sooner because that would have saved me some heartache. But
Right.
now that I know, I'm like, okay, I can just let go and know that I'm doing my best to be the best person I can.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really, 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 really love that. Moving forward, can I ask I'm trying to see if I want to focus on the rejection part, but I feel like you've handled rejection well in the industry. So maybe I can ask you about finances, because I know that's a big thing for a lot of people. I mean, when you're in between jobs, how are you able to get by in the meantime? Or is it I don't know if the jobs are paying you enough to where it's okay, I'm covered for these next 3 months, let me hustle and find the next thing. What does that look like for any aspiring creative coming to Los Angeles?
If you gotta get a job, get one. You know what?
Mm,
But get one with the purpose. Now, I will say there is a sort of space of you don't want to be you want to be mindful that you don't forsake what it is that you are doing, the main thing, right? You want to
right.
create pockets of space for you to still be the artist that you are,
Hmm.
but ultimately it's okay to find a side hustle that you need in order to do to work. um
Hmm.
Multiple. You'll notice that you're able to focus a lot more when you're not worried about if you can eat.
Right.
So there's that. So side hustles, yes, definitely. How I personally, I've been here for 9 years now. um
Hmm.
so I've been able to have connections with certain people who are doing other things, and there's a company thing that goes on, and there's this dance thing, and then there's someone's looking for this party. So I've been gigging it for a very long time on my
Right.
downtime.
I love that. And that's great advice to honestly any creative, aside from dancers, like actors, singers, other forms of talent. I think that's great. We're going to wrap it up here. But before we get to our end of the show questions, I do want to ask, like, have you had a mentor, or has your experience kind of been your mentor? Because I feel like you have a good head on your shoulders and you could help so many aspiring like creatives and dancers. I could see you running a class. They need to pay you for to save some years from, I feel like your years of experience, what you know, and what you've even shared in this podcast alone, I feel like that's going to help so many up and coming creatives. So was that due to like experience, just all that, or did you have any mentor along the way?
A lot of it definitely is experience. Um, However, I was able to bring a lot of my experience to certain people. Uh,
Mm,
I will say that my journey has been feeling like I grabbed someone's hand, they threw me up, and I grabbed someone else's hand, threw me
okay.
up trying to crawl up. So, but yeah, I try to make sure I talk everything that I know and testify things which I've seen. A lot of things have been experienced, a lot of things have been me watching. I like to situations watch.
Mm,
Um, I've learned so much, and and so yeah, watching people situations. Um, Experience is the best teacher, but doesn't mean you have to experience it.
mm.
So
I like that. I love that. I love that. And that will save so many people. Experience is the best teacher, but it doesn't mean you have to experience it. Because experience is expensive, I will say. It's a great teacher, but what it costs you, it's expensive. So if I can learn from somebody else. So as I get to the end of the show questions, the first one is what was, I mean, you kind of answered this, but what was a struggle bus moment for you? And I guess maybe for this one, since you've like a lot of things were a struggle, I
mm,
will kind of have you focus on maybe a struggle that kind of was a turning moment for you in your life.
mm. A struggle moment for me was ooh, so many to take. Accepting leadership.
Mm.
Leadership given being given leadership after feeling like I was wounded by leaders by what leaders do and all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Also stepping into a leadership position.
Mm.
Um Once I did that, I was able to really see things start to open up for me when I took
Mm-hmm.
hold of the leader that was in me, despite
Mm.
whatever I've seen.
Right. What moment were you most proud of yourself as it relates to your career?
Ooh. I feel like the moment that I was most proud of myself, there were so many moments that I feel like I was most proud of myself, and then I topped those.
Mm-hmm.
I will say having a prayer circle with people before I shoot one of my concepts. Like
Mm.
for the God placed on my heart to do this dance situation back when I heard about what was going on the in Lagos.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
moment having a prayer circle right before we began, right outside in Lake Balboa, and seeing everybody that was there that supported,
Right.
and then seeing them you like I had beasts that were ready to go forward and like dance in this message.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And the finished project was so, so good.
Still get, people talking about that. So yeah,
Ah, so amazing. I'll definitely have to send the link out to anybody that subscribed to our newsletter, send out your info, add the links. I'm going to add all the links because people need to see and celebrate you. You're honestly too humble. And I'm happy to even use this as a platform at all to kind of just put you on. People need to know your name.
I'm grateful.
The next question is, what is your definition of success?
Oh my God. For me personally, is hearing well done from God. And I think what that encompasses is me being authentic and true to myself and just really feeling like after it's all done, oh, this is why I was here.
Mm,
Yeah.
that understanding. And I love that your definition of success is detached from any like monetary number or any like worldly accolades. Cause, growing up, that's what we thought, like, cars, millions of dollars, all of this. And like, you feel like, oh, people have done me wrong. Guess what? I'm famous. Like, but to now have that healed and healthy perspective, I think that sets you up to even be more successful because your benchmark is pure. You know what I'm saying? So love that definition.
I look at people who actually have that, and I look at the craziness that's going on in their lives.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's no thanks.
And you've worked with some of those people, and I've encountered so many famous people, like just in my life, LA, doing random jobs, catering big events, like work. One day I'll get into my story, and you see these people up close, and you're like, I really should not even, yeah, like with all due respect, of course, but it's like, oh no, I need to value myself and who I am because there's still a light about us. And, you know, when you hear, because sometimes when you're a fly on the wall, you see a lot, you know what I'm saying? So when you see that, you're like, wow, let me honor where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah.
And our final question for you, or I guess this is a two-parter, but the first part is, what piece of advice would you give to people who are looking to advance professionally, maybe in the industry?
Um, know who you are. Everything that we do in this industry that I've noticed, we play a role, we play a character, we have all this glitz and this glam and all that stuff. But those are moments. You will be back with you. Um,
Mm.
so make sure the place that you go back to, that place that you call home, is some place that's like a home sweet home, not like a, you know,
Yeah.
I would say that again, the best version of you shows up in those spaces, hopefully. So give yourself the best version of you by really uncovering that. Go on a journey with yourself.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and you don't have to use like all these different ways of doing it. So,
And the final question is, I know that you're looking to start like a few projects. Can you maybe say like what kind of like roles you might be looking for, be it dancers, singers, artists, people that can do wardrobe, like what might you be looking for? And we'll let people get in contact with you.
awesome. Okay, well, currently right now the thing that's really impressed on my heart, I started an all men's modeling troupe called Ideal Man.
Ooh.
We want to be models on the runway as well as off of the runway.
Yeah.
Utilize them in my concepts, my dance concepts. I also design clothes, men's fashion.
Mm-hmm.
You'll
Mm-hmm.
see those in my dance concepts as well. Um, and so, anybody that has any references with that, photographers that want to work with us, videographers that want to work with us,
Mm-hmm.
mm, designers that want to have some male models who are aspiring male models that want to come in for an interview,
Okay.
actors that want to be in these concepts. I like my concepts to be over the top and crazy.
Yes.
Have an
Yes.
idea that you want to do, like, please hit me up. But yeah, definitely models right now, male models, what I mean, let's go.
I love that. And I can't wait for people to get in contact with you. I remember when I first met you, I was like, you have like, I was like, is he Michael Jackson reincarnated? Like low key, the talent, the vision, the excellence. So people need to come and work with you, Tay. I'm excited. Thank you so much for an amazing conversation. You gave so much, and I really would recommend anybody that's currently in the industry, and especially the newcomers, to really listen to the story, get connected, follow you on social media so that they can kind of just be connected with their journey. And it's the power of having a touch point, just like a representation of like, oh, okay, Tay's still going. He's still himself. He hasn't changed after being here for years. I think that's going to be so amazing. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. And thank you for just, yeah, trying to create a platform to just do things like this, to actually
Mhm.
talk, get to know what's going on behind people, because there's so many facades.
Right.
And some of them we dive into because we have to, or we think we have,
Hmm.
marketing, all that stuff. But thanks for getting beyond that and behind the veil.
Thank
And
you. Thank you so much. That was such an amazing conversation. Now you see why Tay is a genius and a creative one at that in my eyes. Please get connected and see you next time, besties. Bye.